in that case, as we discussed, we are going to talk about a few more ways of calling Apex. But before that, we will take one more example of a trigger. So the other day we were writing trigger directly on the trigger itself. We were writing the code, right? However, you have another option of writing a class and calling that on trigger. Okay, so the other day what we were doing, we were straight away writing the code in the trigger, right? Like we were writing it this way. Trigger, let's say T1 on account, let's say before insert, something like this. And whatever code you had to write, you were writing your code here, right? The other way of doing the same thing is create a class. So it can be like public class C1, and in this public class, when you write, you can write a method here, because method is what will do something. Public method, let's say M1, and this one. Okay, now while you write your trigger, you can straight away go and put this thing. This trigger can be yeah. So this trigger, when you write it here, what you can do, you can simply go and call that class. Okay, you can just say C1 dot M1. Got it? So instead of you writing the code directly there, what will happen? You can write it in the class. Inside that class there can be a method, and you can call that class and the method inside that trigger instead of writing the code directly there. Got it? How does that help? That helps in a way that you don't have to always go and modify the trigger. Okay, so that is how it is. You can just go and modify the class if you want to make any changes. Got it? So it's always, most of the times, if it's not a simple trigger, it's a good practice that you don't write too long codes inside that trigger itself. You try to write it in the class. That is a better way of doing it. Okay. So that's there. Now let's do one example of this type and see how it works. I will just log in into the developer account, Venkat's account. I will log in. Okay, logged in into this. All right. So we're going to do a simple example. What we are going to do here is create a trigger, okay? And the logic that I want to put on my trigger is that on a given day, now I want to put a little complex logic here. I want to say that on a given day, uh, user cannot create opportunities worth more than let's say 500,000. Okay, so in a single day, one user should not be able to create opportunities more than 500,000. That is the logic which we are trying to put here. So on any given day, one user should not be able to add opportunities more than 500,000. The worth of the opportunities, the amount of the opportunities should not sum up more than 500,000. It can be one opportunity, it can be 10 opportunities. So sum total of all the opportunities created by a user on a day should not exceed 500,000, right? Similar to the debit card, rules that you have. So there is a certain transaction limit per day. Then you do 5 transaction, 10 transaction, you cannot exceed that amount, right? The total cannot exceed. The same concept we are trying to put here. So in this, basically what we have to do, we just have to do a small thing. Every time a record is being created, an opportunity is being created, we will just need to go and check the already existing opportunities in the database which have been created by the same user on that day. First of all, you will go and fetch all those opportunities from the database which have been created on the same day by the same user, and you will need to get the sum of all those opportunities. Then you will need to add the one that you are trying to enter now. So let's say the sum of all the existing opportunities which have been created by me today is 300,000. Then you will need to add the current opportunity amount to that. So if these two things sum up to more than 500,000, then it should throw error. So that's the simple logic. So let's try to write this logic in the tray. So we are going to do it through a class. So this time I will start creating a class. I will not go to the trigger. First of all, I will create a class. So go to Apex classes. Click on new. Let's say okay. So I have created this class. Inside the class, what do I need? I cannot call the class for doing some action, right? What can perform action? Method. So what do I need now? I need a method here. So let me just put a method. Okay, so I'm also defining a parameter here which will be required for this method to get executed. Okay, so what is this parameter thing? Parameter is to be passed by the, is to be supplied by the end user when they want to run the method, right? So what will we supply here? This is the parameter where we will supply trigger.new, right? Because trigger.new is to be supplied from our side, right? The record which needs to be checked, that has to be supplied from our side. So trigger.new is what we are gonna pass from here. Okay. Right. So that is there. Now let's start writing the code. So first thing is we want to do a sum of all the existing records. So what I say, opportunity O1 in select amount from opportunity where created by ID equals user info dot get user ID. And created date equals today. Okay, so this opportunity O1 basically is in this query. Okay, so I'm running a loop here and I would define double total amount equals 0. Okay, so this is a variable that I've defined in which I will sum up all the opportunities. So I'll say total amount plus equals one dot amount. Okay, which means total amounts equals to O1 total amount plus O1 dot amount, right? So every time this loop is running, that value of the O1 amount is getting added into this. So initially it was 0. Initially when the method runs it is 0, and every time the loop is running the value keeps on getting added. So if there are 3 such records, this loop will run for 3 times and all the values will get added to this total amount. So total amount becomes a sum of all these records. That is one thing which we have done. Now one loop is done. Secondly, I need to consider the records. So this part of the code will help me get a sum of all the existing records. Okay. Second thing that we are going to do is Second part of the record, we are gonna consider OPS, the parameter which has been passed, which is actually the trigger.new, the current records. Okay, I need to sum them up as well. So first of all, I've done a sum of all the existing records. Now I get into the second for loop where I try to add the O2 amount to the total amount. Okay, so here again it's going to be a simple thing. Total amount plus equals O2 dot amount. Yes. Find. Now once this part is done, if it finds, so by the time it comes out of this first loop, total amount is already a sum of all the existing records, right? Now it adds the trigger.new to this, the current record in context, that amount is added to this. Here I want to do my logic. If so, after summing it up, if it finds that total amount has become more than, greater than 500,000, then I wanted to throw an error. You have exceeded your daily limit. That's fine. So saved. Got it? So understood the logic. Now what we need to do, we just need to go and create a trigger, and on the trigger I just need to, as I told you earlier, that you just have to go and call the class name dot method name. So in this case, what is my class name? This is the class name. What is the method name? This is the method name. Okay, so I do have the class name, I do have method name, and the parameter that I will pass there, list of opportunities, that will be trigger.new. Okay, so trigger.new is a list of opportunities which I will pass for this. Find a parameter here that needs to be passed. That's it. Okay. So this part is done. Now let me go and create a trigger. So for opportunity, I have to create a trigger. So I'll go to customize, then opportunities, then triggers. New trigger. This should work before insert and before update. And just bring in this entire statement here. That's it. The job is done. So instead of writing the entire code here, I have written the code on the class and I'm just calling the method from there. Method does not exist. There is something wrong. Give me a minute. Now it's fine. Okay. Now if I start creating opportunities, let's test this trigger if it is working fine. So if I start creating opportunities, amount I put 150,000, close date 30th, and I simply go ahead and click on save. So 150k opportunity got added. I want to create one more. This time I want to create it with 200,000. So that also gets created. So total for these two opportunities become 350,000, right? 150 plus 200. Now the third one that I want to create here, I will put 200,000. So now this one should throw error, right? Because I have already created 300,000 worth of opportunities, and this is going to be 200,000 more, which will make it more than 500,000. This one should throw error. Yes, throws error. You have exceeded your daily limit, right? So the moment I'm trying to enter this record, it goes and checks all the records that I've created today. So basically the two records that I just created, those are the ones that I have created today. It goes and checks those records. So sum of that is 350,000. So the first loop will make the sum to 350,000. And the second loop will be used for adding up the current record. So that is how it is. Got this? Tell me if you have any questions understanding this thing. Simple, easy to understand. Okay. Now the next thing is talking about other ways of invoking Apex, right? So we have seen the Apex being invoked in some of the examples. Now we'll understand, what are the other ways of calling Apex. So here what we'll do, we'll talk about some concepts. So there is something called synchronous Apex and asynchronous Apex. Okay, there's something which you need to understand. What is synchronous and what is asynchronous? Synchronous is something which happens in sync with the end user action. Okay, that is what a synchronous thing means, right? Something which is happening in sync with some other thing. Now synchronous Apex gets executed in sync with the end user action. Let's say when the end user is loading a page, the method will get executed, Apex method. End user clicks on a button, the Apex method gets executed. The end user tries to create a record, the method gets executed. The end user tries to delete a record, the method gets executed. So it's in sync with our action, right? However, So far whatever we have done, these are all examples of synchronous effects. So whatever we have done, this is all synchronous effects, like VF controller that works when the page is loaded, right? So that is the synchronous effects. The trigger thing, this works with the this trigger thing works with your data manipulation happening on the database, right? Some record is being created, or it is being edited, or it's being deleted. That is when it gets triggered, right? So these are both synchronous effects. There are a few other asynchronous effects also. Okay. Apart from these two, there is one more synchronous effects method, which is anonymous code block. Anonymous code block is where you can simply write a small code block and you can execute that code, and you don't have to do anything. You don't have to put it inside a method and a trigger or a controller, nothing. Sometimes it happens, right? You just want to put a small two-liner code and just want to execute it. You don't want to put it in a trigger or a class or page, nothing, right? So Salesforce provides us an option of doing the same thing, which is from here. You need to go to the developer console, click on your name, and you will get developer console. So click on developer console. So this is how your developer console looks. Now here you will just need to go to the debug, open execute anonymous window. This is it. Right. So you can write anonymous code here and you can execute the code. Give me a minute. Just can go to debug, open anonymous code block. You can enter your code here. Let's say account A equals new account. So what I'll do is I'll enter a record into the system from this Apex code. Okay, I say account A equals new account. Name equals Wipro Technologies. Type equals customer. Industry equals technology. Okay. All right. And then I say insert A. Okay. So this code block should just go and create a new record with this name and this type and this industry in my Apex. Okay. Now if I go and search for accounts, I should find that Wipro Technologies created. See, this got created. Customer direct technology, right? So I could do this using the code. All right. So this anonymous code block allows you to do a quick, Apex coding directly through the console. You don't have to go and write a trigger and everything all the times. When you think that you just need a quick code to get executed, you can use anonymous code block. Okay, so this is one more way. Apart from this, there are a few other methods which are asynchronous Apex. Asynchronous means that is something which will run in the backend, and that is something which does not happen instantly with the end user action. Okay, so that is not in sync with the end user action. Okay, so first of such example can be, let's say there is an Apex code that you want to get executed every Friday automatically in the backend. So basically you don't want that the user will go and click on something and then it will happen. You want that Apex code to get executed automatically in the backend. So there is this thing called Apex scheduler. Okay. Now this Apex scheduler is something which can help you achieve that thing. That you can define a time and you can define a frequency, and the Apex method will get executed on the defined frequency automatically. You don't have to go and click on it every time. Okay, so it's like while you're creating the class for Apex scheduler, while you're creating the class, you should say like this: public class C1 implements schedulable. Okay, so schedulable interface you have to define here. Yeah, you have to say this. So once you've said this while creating the class, then you will have that option of defining an Apex schedule. For example, let me go to an existing class. We have created a few classes now. So let's say I go to this class C1. Okay. Now, if I want to make this class schedulable, then I have to say implements schedulable. So this is what I have to do here. Implementing the global interface method. Okay, sorry. Should I move on a second? Yeah, okay, so this is also required. Execute method will be required inside this. Alright, so I'll tell you about that. But first thing that you have to do is you have to use this implement schedulable on the class. Okay, the moment you define this implement schedulable on the class, then what happens? Let me write a new class here. Public class P1 implements schedulable. Okay, now what you have to do, you have to write a method, okay, which can be give me 1 minute, I just will check the syntax. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so basically what you have to do, you have to first of all say implement schedulable, and secondly you will have to define a method, execute whatever code logic you want to execute. So every Friday what should happen, whatever should happen, that should be written inside this method, basically this execute method. You want to enter a record, you want to delete something, whatever your code logic is, you put everything inside this. Okay, now once this has been defined, now it looks like a normal class, right? The way we have created other class, the way we have created other methods, it looks pretty similar to that. So what is special in this, and how, where are we talking about what will be the frequency and when will the code get executed, right? So that is what we will define using Apex scheduler. Okay, so once you've written the code here, then once you save this, where you see the list of all the classes, there you have a button called schedule Apex. Click on schedule Apex. Okay, this is where you can give it a name. You can select the class. See, this is the class that I was talking about. Job name can be Apex schedule, whatever you give it any name, schedule 1, and then define the frequency. Got it? You want to do it every Monday, every Friday, every Tuesday, whenever you want to do it, you can just define that. Fine, simple thing. So just need to keep that initial part in mind. Everything else is same, right? So this is one way, and you also have to define a public void execute method. Okay, so this is one way of writing asynchronous Apex. Second way is to write queuable Apex. What is this queuable Apex? Queuable Apex means an Apex method which can be queued. Okay, or before that, there's one more thing which is called a future method. Okay, so this future method is primarily for a method, and queuable Apex is for a class. So this means that any class or a method which has been defined as a future method or a queuable class, that method gets queued. Okay, what does that mean, and why will it get queued? See, let's say one of the methods is already running in the backend database. One method is getting executed, and at that time you start to execute the other method also. Okay, there will be a clash. One thing is already happening, the other thing just got started. What will happen? There will be a clash. Second transaction will get cancelled because the resources are not there with Salesforce. Already one method is getting executed, right? That is what will happen. There's one thing which is already happening. Second thing also gets started somehow. It can be through a scheduled Apex, or it can be through someone has clicked on it. Let's say a scheduled Apex is working in the backend and you clicked on a button, and your method also needs to get executed. But Salesforce does not have enough resources to run both the things. Then what will it do? First one is executing, it will cancel the second one, right? But in case you don't want that method to get cancelled, you want that, okay, fine, if the resources are not available with Salesforce, instead of it cancelling that method, or instead of it cancelling that transaction, it should queue it up. When the resources become available, then that method should get executed. Got it? So that is the logic here. So this is a simple thing. Here you have to just say public class implements queuable. That's what you have to say. Okay. And for writing a future method, you have to use a add future annotation. Okay. So before you write future method, you should use a add future annotation, like public void something, right? Now this kind of a method where you have given a future annotation, this method, if it is not able to be executed at this point of time because of the lack of resources from Salesforce side, this will get in the queue. Instead of this method getting cancelled, it gets in the queue. Got it? So pretty clear logic that sometimes you do not want the transaction to get cancelled, and because there is this concept of asynchronous Apex, that then a lot of times this thing can happen, right? That some transaction that you try to do at that same time there can be a backend method which is getting executed, and my transaction will get cancelled. Fine. So certain requirements will be there where you either want to perform the action right now or cancel it. Okay. But some of the cases you just want that action to happen. You don't want that to get cancelled. So in that case, you should use a queuable interface. Got it? Third is batch apex. Okay. Now what is this batch apex? Batch apex is a very simple logic where you have a huge number of data to be processed. Okay. Now if there is a big transaction which needs to be done, then what will you do? You will do that in batches. Let's say there is a big transaction which needs to be done and Salesforce is not able to perform the entire thing in one go. Then what do you try to do? You try to put things in batches. But okay, fine, let me do it based on some batches. Okay, small batches. So that is what batch apex is. So when you are doing a batch apex, you have to define a batchable interface. So it should be like this: public class B1 or whatever, and you should say implements batchable. Okay. So first thing you have to do this. That's for the batch apex. Next, what you have to do? Batch apex has three methods. So there is a start method, there is an execute method, and there is a finish method. So batch apex should have three methods. Okay. Batch apex class should have three methods. What three methods? First is start, second is execute, third is finish. Okay. So start method is basically for gathering the information or creating the batches. Correct. So putting data into a batch and all that stuff. That is the the job of the start method. Okay. So let's say all the records from New York City will get processed in the first batch. So you write a query that okay, fine, accounts a list of accounts A equals to all accounts where city equals New York City. So that part should be written. The assignment of the values to the variable should be done in the start method, right? Now execute method holds what needs to be done. Okay, what exactly you want to do. So start method has got the values. Execute method will hold what needs to be done. Let's say from New York City you want to change the city name to NYC. So that part should happen in execute. And finish is a method which runs at the end. At the end means when all the batches are processed. Let's say you have 20 batches. When all the 20 batches have got executed, finish method will get executed once only. Okay. Execute will happen. So this is from start execute, the loop will keep on running here. Finish method will run just once at the end. So this finish is usually used for sending a notification or something to the user that okay, all the batches have successfully completed or not successfully completed, whatever, right? So end of all the batches, because batch apex is a long running process, right? So at the end you might want to receive a message or something saying that your batches are successfully completed or something, right? So finish method is used for notification basically. Okay. So that's about the batch apex. Got these things? So we have these different asynchronous apex as well. Alright. So for you guys, I am also gonna refer you a book to read more about apex and get more into the development stuff, which is called an Apex Developers Guide. Fine. So this Apex Developers Guide is a big reference book for you, and you can refer to it any point of time, and you can benefit a lot from it. All right, we have done a lot of examples in the sessions. I am sure that a lot of concepts that you needed to learn on Apex are clear by now. However, this developers guide is also going to give you a lot of reference whenever you need it while you're working, going to interview and all. Right? I'll just show you. Let me just open this. Yeah, here it is. All right. So this is what we have, all right, and you can find every information here, right from writing your Apex, the basics, language constructs, data types, everything, to the different things like the triggers, the queuable Apex, scheduler, future methods, batch Apex. Fine. So these all things also can be found here. You can read more about these things. Alright, so this is the developers guide. I've shared the link with you all on the chat window. You can pick the link from there. Okay. So anyone has a question here? Good. You're all fine? Okay. That's fine. Great. So then we're going to meet tomorrow, same time.